ID and the password, and they couldn't hear me. So I had to go back to my iPad mini and log in. So obviously technology, like I said, it's wonderful till it isn't. So,
and I was trying to go back and forth between my tablet and my phone to get the information to send you. So I'm sorry it got so confusing.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled, Kristy, that you are here. And the first thing we want to say is our club got your message on the July 1st meeting, and we've sent it out to all our members, and our board is discussing how we can support you, because we're very excited that, you know, we're moving forward with you as the chair of the Dallas County Democratic Party. And since we're a little late starting, I'm not going to make a lot of introductory remarks. I'm just going to let you start talking. And what we're going to do is, and I will just say this, there was a question on what you think about defund the police. So if you can address that in your remarks, that's fine. And I've asked somebody else to monitor chat because I'm on my iPad mini, and with my old eyes, I can't read the chat on my iPad mini. So I'm asking that questions come through on chat and that Sharon relays them to you, if that's okay with you.
That sounds great.
So tell us what you're going to do as Dallas County Democratic Party chair.
We're going to put the party back in the party, folks. I just like saying that, so we'll explain later. But anyway, so thanks for having me. I've been out to your club before and always enjoyed it. And thanks, Judge Hoffman. I think you filled some dead space by answering questions. So thanks so much. So from the party perspective, obviously, yes, we're going to have a gathering on the 1st to kick off the 4th of July weekend. And it's not even a meeting, it's just a, hey, let's get all Democrats together and chat and be united again and be outside together. It might be a little hot, but actually the weather's going to be okay this week. So that, you know, I know that most of you were on different forums and things as we, you know, ran up to the election for the interim chair, and you've heard a lot of how I would love to go forward. And really it comes down to just a couple of things. It comes down to, you know, grassroots working to get every single vote out in Dallas County. And it comes down to unifying and realizing that and acting like every single Democrat in this county, we all want the same thing. At a high level, we all believe the same thing. And those are the things that we need to focus on. We talk a lot about, especially toward the Republicans, that, you know, things are not a pie, right? We're not going to run out of any one given thing if we, you know, fund Medicaid, if we fund social services, right? There's still going to be enough for everyone. And as Democrats, we need to take that to heart, and we need to exemplify that in all that we're doing. And that unity, that every single Democrat is important, and their role is important to flipping this state, has to be taken in and grasped by all of us. It's going to take the donors. It's going to take the elected officials that are the product of the party and the product of every Democrat within the county. It's going to take everybody who registers voters. It's going to take all the clubs, all the allied organizations who are concentrating on issues. It's going to take every contingency within the Democratic Party. And so my goal is quite a lofty one, I think, but it is to find a way that we can all collaborate and communicate in an effective way to move forward, where we don't overlap quite as much as we have in the past, but we don't leave gaps. I would always rather overlap a little bit than leave a gap and let some Democrat fall through that gap that we don't get to. But I think the communication and the understanding of that we're all doing the same thing is super important, and the way that we are going to be able to be the leader in flipping Texas. You know, I talked as we started moving up toward the election that there are enough Democratic votes to get between a third and a half, at minimum, a third and a half of the way there of what Beto would have needed to win in 2018. I know we didn't come anywhere close to what we wanted to do in 2020. And there's all kinds of reasons why. And I think that we have done all of us in different ways, all the different clubs, all the different organizations, COVID, not walking, not talking to people, having money come into the state and all, you know, not having the best plans of how to utilize that money and probably too much of it going to TV ads. What we are going to do is right now we're going to be creating the staff at DCDP, hopefully the funding sources at DCDP that all center around a plan to empower precinct chairs, to collaborate with groups and clubs, and to really implement any money that we can get coming into Texas, because Texas is the exact center, and Dallas is the exact center, in my opinion, and what I've heard everyone say as I've been talking to folks throughout the state and some national folks, they see that Dallas is at the crosshairs of making this happen for Texas. And so we have to have that plan to utilize those funds in an effective way to get them down at the grassroots level. So we want to be able to say, here's our plan, here's how we're going to use it, here's how we're going to implement it. And these are all the groups and clubs that we are collaborating with across Texas, across Dallas County. And these are all the sources that we have to be able to make this happen. So, you know, I've talked about in the CEC meetings and leading up to the election, we're going to be creating a club council that's going to be meeting regularly, and we want a representative from every club, every Democratic club to be in that. We're going to be creating a process where clubs can be a affiliated or a affiliated club of the Dallas County Democrats. And with that, there's going to be a process that, you know, you have to be a PAC, you have to have certain requirements, you have to do certain things. And then being affiliated with that and being part of that club council, you're also will have certain tools and certain collaboration methods by being a part of that club council. That's going to be, you know, access to van, access to mobilize, and so that we're all using and working off the same data, because again, we all have the same plan. From a diversity perspective, we're going to reinvigorate and reactivate the community council. And we know that obviously the Democrats, we're a big tent. We have all kinds of different contingencies, different ethnicities, different religions, you know, LGBTQ. We have folks from all over the county. This county is huge, right? And not one, you know, a neighborhood in Northeast Dallas County does not think, look, feel anything like a neighborhood in Southwest Dallas County. And so not just ethnicity and religion and all those types of diversity, you know, we need to have geographic diversity within Dallas County in that community council. And we can take those values and how we communicate those values and make that specific to what is needed by certain neighborhoods. And that'll come from the precinct chairs and then also from the community council. So I think with those two groups, along with the empowering process that we're going to be working on for the precinct chairs, I think we're going to have all the different ideas and contingencies covered, so we have good information coming in and we can implement and coordinate as we get to 2022. So I talk real fast and I get real excited when I start talking. So I'm going to slow down for a minute and I'm going to see if there are any questions, and then we can talk about the question that you asked about defund the police and anything else that's in there. Is that okay?
That sounds great. And I'm going to, as moderator, I'm going to just ask one question, because in all of the chair races, there seems to have been like a divide between South and North Dallas and various groups within Dallas. how are you going to unite these people? Because I think some of our problems have been that they're not totally united. I mean, they have the same goals, but not exact. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I think any divide, if you break it down to, however we want to split up where the divide is, right? If it's racial, if it's geographical, whatever, there's a this side and a this side, right? And so that all comes down to how do we maintain relationships when it comes down to it, right? One side is thinking one thing and one side is thinking another thing. And if you think about a friendship, a romantic relationship, a business relationship, the most important thing always is communication. And so I have already been communicating with anybody who wants to talk to me about what they're concerned about what they've seen in the past, about what they want to do going forward. Now, am I going to be able, and are we as a staff or as a whole Democratic Party in Dallas County going to be able to meet and react to every single request or desire or complaint? Absolutely not. But most importantly, people need to be heard and need to know that we as a Democratic Party are all together and we are behind everyone, even if we can't agree on everything and even if we can't do everything that every single contingency wants. And so that's a long way of saying I'm going to be there. I'm going to listen. We're creating these councils to do that listening, to hear that, and to take in those concerns. And then obviously, I was very purposeful in appointing Cardall Coleman as the deputy chair. And it was just very interesting that, this all happened right before Juneteenth. And obviously I was out and about with Cardall, going to many Juneteenth events that, some of them I wouldn't even have known about had I not been doing this with Cardall. And every day that I've been working with him, so it's been what? How many days since the election? Whatever, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've been working with him before as he helped on the campaign and stuff. His knowledge of what is going on in Southern Dallas County and his knowledge and connections and relationships down there and our relationship as it has grown from a working relationship has opened so many doors and so many paths for conversation and what is really needed from the party in terms of inclusion with Southern Dallas County. And I think those are just the first steps. And I just want to tell you from my experience over the weekend, there are amazing, passionate people in Southern Dallas County who are already doing amazing things and want to be united and want to be brought together. And so I am very hopeful. I'm not exactly sure what the next steps are besides what I've talked about so far. But I think all we have to do is keep showing up, is keep being there. They're going to show up for us. We need to show up for them. We need to work together, and more doors are going to be opened. I truly believe that. It was an amazing, amazing weekend talking to people.
Okay, I lied. One more question. When I was out for candidates, during voting, early voting, and on election day, I was in Garland and Richardson most of the time, and I saw a lot of young Hispanic women who seemed absolutely like, I'm voting Democratic, thank you for giving me that sheet with all the Democrats on it. And is there a way we can harvest that energy? I mean, they were very adamant about who they wanted to vote, but I'm not sure they're out in their community. I mean, some of them asked me for signs, some of them asked me for other things, but it seems like there was a passion there that I haven't seen before. Maybe you disagree, I don't know.
No, I think it's there, and I think it probably has been there. And I think, from my perspective, where I've been with the feds, I think you're right on. I don't think we have fully tapped in and figured out the right way to earn that trust as a Democratic Party and earn the right to get that, for them to collaborate with us. And I think, again, it goes back to relationships, communication, and I just said trust. We have to build that trust from the party to all of those communities on an ongoing basis. And it's not about necessarily, well, at all really, saying, I love your cat, saying we believe the same thing. We want this, you want that. It's really all about is the Democratic Party, is Kristy Nobel, is, any person, are they going to listen to me? Are they going to be there and show up and listen to what really matters? I'm trying to get my daughter, I can barely pay my bills, and I'm trying to get my daughter dance lessons because she loves to dance. How can I do that when I don't have internet, when I do that, you know what I mean? When I am having to pay all these bills? We have to learn to understand all of those things and be there time and again. And when it comes down to it, it is laying the path and creating a place and an openness for those conversations and those trust building conversations to happen. So that's kind of what I think on that. But
yeah, I know
don't
it was
know
like when this young Hispanic woman asked me for the last Biden sign I had, I thought, oh, well, no, it's more important to put it in your neighborhood than I keep it here. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Carol, I have the question that we got ahead of time.
Okay, why don't you pose that question to Kristy?
Okay, Kristy, this is from Janine Spryer. I believe that's how you pronounce your last name.
Or Jeannie.
Anyway, so I know that defund the police was a phrase people in my precinct either believed was a real threat or used as an excuse to vote Republican in 2020. It's a problem. Is there a way to get consensus across Texas to sub in something like, my preference would be like renew policing or re-energize policing? To me, those words are forward-looking and less pejorative than reorganize police or reform police. Those last two phrases indicate something is wrong with policing, regardless of what we think. We need to win elections, not the battle of words. And now she wants to know what you think.
Yes. Okay. So I think this goes to the broader term of and thought process of democratic messaging, right? I think, I don't know where maybe you guys do. I don't know where the defund the police phrase came from. I remember last year it was just all of a sudden out there. But I know that in many cases, the Republicans have spun the messaging to make it what they need it to be. And they're very good at that. If you think about climate change, that wasn't a democratic message, right? Our wording was global warming, and then they said climate change, and that made it sound not so bad, right? And the media picked up on that. I think that overall, and I think many of us have said this before, messaging is a problem from the Democratic side, and I think that we, as Democrats, a lot of times wait, at least here in Texas and maybe other places. I have seen folks wait for maybe, TDP, maybe they're going to come in and give us the messaging, or maybe the DNC is going to give us the messaging. But Jeannie, you're right. We have to start that messaging, just like we have to do to get out the vote at the grassroots level. We have to begin to figure out and to start moving that messaging forward. And from that messaging perspective, I think that the community council is a place where, as we get a more enhanced communication team for the Dallas County Democratic Party, which is my goal, that some of that can originate there with the guidance of the community council that has the input of all the different contingencies within the Dallas County Democratic Party, which, when it comes down to it, is at least most of the contingencies within the Texas Democratic Party. But we have to start that. And so, you know, I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know if throwing the word policing in there is a good idea or not. Defund the police, that's a negative term. I think we need to turn it around to being more of a positive and what our policies would do, right? I think we need to talk on the value level, right? I'm pushing like people first. Everything that we do from a democratic perspective is we put people first. So from this perspective, what we're asking is that instead of policing to be first, we want people to be put first. And so the resources that are going to the police from the policing perspective needs to be put more into healthcare and health services and social services that partner with the police. So maybe there's a phrasing in there somewhere, but I think that as we are all smart people, and if we put our minds to it, we can come up with and try some things and then work with the funding and the organizations nationally to help us refine those type of messages. So I hope that was a good enough answer, because I don't have the exact phrase, Jeannie.
Erin, are there any questions out there?
Yes, there are a few questions. The first couple questions relate to staffing. The question was, what is the status of the staff at Dallas Democratic Party? And you had mentioned in your campaign possibly hiring professional fundraising. Is that something that you've moved forward on? So those two things have to do with staffing, like who's who. And I know you talked about the deputy chair already. And then what's this status on the fundraising?
Yeah, so we have not made any changes or additions at this point to the staffing. We're still honestly, we're looking at what we need to do in terms of the first 2 weeks have been all about internal processes, getting HR processes in place, realizing where we are from a legal perspective, and getting some payroll and just kind of back office stuff in place. That's been the focus at this point. We'll start looking, and we've talked about kind of a high level eventual org chart, you know, kind of the pie in the sky, and then we're bringing it back down to the essentials that we need to have. We need to have a high functioning communications department. We need to have a fundraising director who is focused on fundraising and making sure that we are, and that I am, moving in the right direction in terms of fundraising. And that would cover, you know, the typical asks that I would do. It would cover creating and maintaining the leadership council from the elected officials. And we're looking at that, and I'm going to be trying to meet with as many elected officials to see their thoughts on how the leadership council has worked in the past and how they would like to see it moving forward. I think we have some good ideas there. And then also a more advanced sustaining membership program from the fundraising. So that would all be under the fundraising director that I definitely want to bring in, and we know is on our org chart. And then obviously the political side, where we're, you know, really working with the club council, the community council, and the precinct chairs. We need to create that and make that more of a full-time responsibility. The whole goal is to create an organization and expand what we have so far to make it a 365-day-a-year process. So I don't have any firm steps, but we are in the planning stages, and there'll be movement really soon in terms of postings.
Okay, great. Another question that I think is really a good one is from Robin, talking about the work of neighborhood organizers. And this is a communication thing, I think. So you have neighborhood organizers doing a lot of the work of like a precinct chair. How can we ensure that those individuals are getting the information that they need from the county to be most effective. And I've seen that, and I just moved from Collin County, where there were people that aren't the elected precinct chair, but they're doing the lion's share of the work in that neighborhood. But it would make them much more effective if they got the information they needed. So how do you see that role?
Yeah, I see it. I think the overriding principle is that, again, we are all together in this. And, you know, nobody needs anybody's permission to work and to try and get people out to vote and to try and you know, get people registered. And we need to realize that we all need to be moving in the same direction if we're going to have the best efficiency and effectiveness to make this all happen. So in moving forward in that process, that's one of the reasons I've talked about the club council. If there are clubs, part of that application process, and it's not really even an application process, it's just a communication process again. What is your mission as a club? What are you good at as a club? What's your strengths? And what do your members want to do as their portion of this movement to turn Texas blue and to get more votes out? If we take that into consideration as we're creating that plan as we go into 2022 and eventually into 2024, that again, it's listening to what the clubs are, what they want to do, how they want to be involved, and then acting on that and realizing that each group of people can do things slightly different but still move in the same direction. So if they're organizers from within different clubs, let's get them involved, let's talk to them, let's see how we can make sure that we're working off of the same data in VAN. We're you know, getting the same questions out of VAN and working all of that same data. I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing, if there are people who want to be, you know, who are working in their precincts that aren't affiliated with the club, then I think we pull them in and say, hey, come work with this club or come work with the precinct chair. And I think we start thinking about it as not just having a precinct chair, but having a precinct team. Because if you really do neighborhood organizing, one precinct chair cannot do it. And we need to recognize that there are lots of people who could be an amazing team. And once you have a team of people working for the same goal in this, you know, and especially in the same precinct, then ideas just come and the energy bounces off of each other and you don't feel so alone. So if we could, you know, cultivate that team thought process in doing this at the grand level in terms of all the clubs working together and at the micro level of anyone in your precinct wanting to do this, let's work together. That's the thought process and the concept that we have to use going forward instead of holding the data and holding the information. Oh, we have to do it this way. We will go nowhere if that's how we approach things. So did that answer the question, Sharon?
Well, I think it's up to Robin to decide if that's a good answer. Is that a good answer, Robin?
I'm on board with everything you're saying, Kristy, that's for sure. So yeah, as the precinct organizer in my neighborhood, and we don't have a precinct chair because it's me really, but I have my reasons, okay, for not being the precinct chair to make it official, but I'm doing the work and I'm involved with the other precinct chairs around here and, you know, real active. But I would love to just know that I'm not missing something from the Dallas Democrats. You know, I get information from all these groups, but sometimes I know I'm kind of missing out on some stuff because I'm not the real precinct chair. But just try to keep the neighborhood. And I know of another one, a friend of mine, I'm not going to name names, but she does most of the work like I do, but she's not the precinct chair. There's another person in the neighborhood that is the precinct chair. So she's missing on some stuff and she's the one really doing the work. So, you know, we need neighborhood organizers just to be on the email list.
Absolutely. And here's what I want to say to that. As we are doing, you know, as we are growing and figuring out the right ways to empower precinct chairs and precinct organizers and just neighborhood teams, I want all of this feedback and this information so that as we create these processes, that we're not leaving anybody out. And like you said, that, you know, there's reasons, right? You have a reason for not, you know, being the precinct chair. That's your reason. That's not my thing. That's fine. But I want to harness whatever energy and desire and passion you have in any way that we can. My take is we never want to, you know, disregard or discourage somebody who wants to volunteer and do work for the mission that we're working toward. So if there are people like that, Robin, please, you know, contact me. If I'll either talk to you, or as we get folks on our staff around the political side and the precinct chair management side, then I'll get you in contact with them. But those, I want to know about those people. I want to make sure that we're bringing them into the fold.
Okay, well, talking about bringing people into the fold, the next question has to do with young people who are progressive but don't want to work with the old fogies or the candidates who they don't perceive as being progressive enough. So the question is, how do we get these people on the team? That's probably a question that gets asked like every
And
day in Democratic
This is
circles.
from a person who is a professor at North, what's that college up there in the north?
UNT?
Yeah, no, not you. Yes,
UTD.
whatever. There she is.
UTD. Yeah, UTD.
UTD, that's it.
So
Yeah,
I get this from students.
Tell me more.
No, these students will complain about, oh, we're not going far enough. We're ignoring all these progressive ideas. And there's a certain naivete in that they've never been on the administrative side or in the trying to round up everyone. And I say, well, just get as much as you can. You don't have to have everything and throw down your stuff and leave. You know, do what you can. It's not that we don't agree with you. You know, we want, let's say, Medicare for all, but we're not going to campaign on it because it's not going to win. So it's not that we don't believe in your ideals, but and then they'll sort of dismiss, oh, you're just such an old fogey. What do you know? And it's like, well, what do I know? I don't know. But, you know, I've been around for, you know, many, many years and I've seen all this. So I wish there was a way to get them to realize that, let's say, once you're on the legislature or the city council, it's not so easy, even if you have these progressive ideals. So anyway, so somehow I'd like to make sure they stay within the circle, but, you know that they're being heard. Because they feel like no one's paying attention to them.
Kristy, I would like to interject here. Is there a way of bringing in or making sure we're reaching out to the Democratic clubs on the college campuses that we have in North Texas? I know there are some out there, and of course their leadership moves, but I think we need to somehow keep them in mind and bring them into the fold.
Absolutely, and that's the exact direction I was headed in it. Is that actually, you know, I have an intern that's working this summer. She was going to be working on the campaign, and I've, you know, put her to work on what we're doing at DCDP. And one of those things is to identify the high schools and the colleges that have Democratic clubs. And I've talked to a couple of the young Democrat clubs that, you know, aren't associated with a high school or a college, and that's one of their concerns as well. And so yes, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to reach out to the Democratic clubs at all of the universities that are, you know, in Dallas County, all the community colleges and the high schools, and begin to start, if there isn't Democratic clubs, go ahead and figure out how we can start some of those by talking to the history professors, the poli-sci folks, you know, whatever is appropriate with that in that, you know, particular institution, and see what we can do to get those started. I think also, to your point, we do need to listen to them. It's just like everything else we've been talking about. When it comes down to it, the world that we're trying to build isn't our world, right? I mean, we're at the, you know, some of us, me included, are at the point where we are building this world for those people who we are talking about right now. And so they are a different generation growing up than we were, and they have an immense amount of knowledge and understanding of what's to come, probably more so than we do. And so we do need to listen to them. I want to create a space within the Dallas County Democrats, you know, at the headquarters and in satellite workings and in you know, neighborhood organizations where we're grouping up the young people with the precinct teams and bringing in those Democratic clubs at those high schools as part of what we're doing in our big process going forward. The other thing that I think we really need to do, and that I will be working on, is creating a very high functioning fellow program or internship program. At the beginning, I don't think, you know, we're going to have very few paid positions from that, but I think it could grow into more if we can show that we are able to train and to give lots of good experience to high school and college age folks who want to go into politics. That also can create that pipeline that we need for staffers, for candidates, for activists, for the next cycle, basically. So I think, again, it's all about listening. It's all about making sure there's a path for them to participate. And if they're participating and they have that path, and we create that place at the headquarters where, man, all these young people and that energy is going to be there, it is going to be infectious, and it will do nothing but help us. And like I said, if we have that path, they're going to learn what you're talking about the things that are difficult in terms of going all the way over to a progressive side or not. So we have to involve them.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, the last question in the chat is, oops, is that Lena's dog? I think it might be Lena. Anyway, Carolyn wants to know what's going on with the feds. Lena?
I'm sorry if
Lena,
you're
mute
muting my
yourself.
dog.
Can you mute?
I will. I'll mute me. See
Thanks.
how I can do that here.
Okay, Kristy, you have an update on the feds?
On the feds, well, the feds, we've, you know, since the beginning of the year, we've been working on turning leadership over to a new group of leaders, and they are running the feds, and they are working to get, you know, put their stamp on it. But the mission of the feds is still the same, is to you know, get out Democrat and left-leaning voters in that area, and to collaborate with groups around the county and the state to do the same. They're going to continue to do that. We, you know, obviously, you know, I've worked with the feds very closely for 4 years, 5 years. And so as part of the club council and as part of the precinct chair empowerment program, they're going to be, you know, somewhat of a model of what I'd like to do and to work toward countywide, with the caveat that not every neighborhood is the same. And so what I don't want there to be the thought that what the feds have done is what has to be done all across the county. There are things that are working extremely well in other parts of the county. And if it's working well, we're not going to fix it. We're not going to try to break it. We're not going to try to change anything. We're just going to try to add to it where it makes sense. But the feds are going strong, and that's all I really know, because I've been a little busy. But if there's a specific question about the feds, I'll try and answer it. If that's not the answer you were looking for.
answer, I think, was just really what's going on with them. But one more question in the chat, and then Helen Waldman has her hand up here, but I don't see a question in the chat box. But Carrie wants to know how to get on the community council.
Well, at this moment, just go ahead and you can email me, and I'm taking a list of folks. And actually, Cardall Coleman, the deputy chair, he's going to be leading that up, and we're having discussions on when to start that and how to start that process. Actually, tomorrow we're having a pretty long discussion on that for the first step. So, but go ahead and email me. I'll get your name to him, and we'll be sending out some more information. I would also say that this type of stuff, make sure that you're on the Roundup email list. Make sure if you're not getting the Roundup emails, go to the website. We're going to be restructuring the website a little bit to make it a little easier to move about. And if you can't find it, make sure that you let me know, and we'll get you on that list, because there'll be a lot of information coming out on those as well. And we'll be doing some, I don't know, we'll probably be doing some Facebook Lives and stuff, giving you information about it.
Kristy, can you tell us a little bit about your deputy chair? I have never heard of this man before.
Absolutely. So Cardall Coleman, he's a young man, so we got some youth coming in. We had to balance me out, right? Because I'm getting kind of old. He's a veteran. He is from, he went to Mesquite High School. His grandmother lived in Oak Cliff, so he spent a lot of time in South Oak Cliff growing up. He went into the Army as he got out of high school, and as he came back, and he has been a staffer for Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson and State Representative Retta Bowers. He ran Retta Bowers' district office at the beginning of her service. He's also he's been a precinct chair in 3008. Before he was, I don't know if it was before or right around the same time he was a staffer for Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. And then he's also started a nonprofit to give pro bono legal expenses to a victim of police brutality. And so he has the political chops from being a staffer within both the congressional and the state representative office to really help bring the processes within the county party up a level. So we're really excited about that. And he has obviously a lot of connections and understanding of the political processes and the things that we had just talked about Southern Dallas County and how we start to bridge those divides. I think that he understands the feeling of not being included, and what different groups from Southern Dallas County has encountered. And for me, it's been a great education listening and working with him. And every day I feel like we're learning something that's going to help us to unite Dallas County. So I can answer other questions, but those are his main highlights and the resume.
Awesome. I want to give Helen a chance to ask her question. Helen, can you unmute and ask her question?
Thank you. I am. Yeah. Oh, lower hand. I'm still learning every day how to use this equipment better and better. Yes, Kristy. And it goes back to when you were talking about marketing and getting our views across. Being that Texas is a type A society in general, and we've got so many people moving here from different parts of the states, and many are moving here for economic reasons, I don't understand on more of a local and state level why we aren't beating it their own game. Because when you look at it philosophically, truly, obviously, I feel the Republican Party is not what it has traditionally been. It's more concerned about getting in your bedroom and rights than it is taking care of business, meaning economic business. But we Democrats, with the ideas and the forward thinking we have coming on, why aren't we not marketing ourselves and showing dollars and cents for the programs that we are initiating and the bottom dollar line? I just don't understand it. And why are we not bringing out the hypocrisy that obviously Abbott and DeSantis are competing against versus so-called people's rights, but yet they go ahead and trample on the corporations, which is another question. The Supreme Court decided corporations are people too or something a few years back, which I have yet to understand. But if that is the case, according to the law of the land, why are the governors taking their rights away in terms of how they determine how they run their ships, how they run their schools, etc.?
No, I understand what you're saying. And yes, I think that goes back to the way we message, right?
Absolutely.
We need to focus on, I mean, you know, if we look back at 2018, we had a huge burst of
Momentum.
activity and momentum.
Mhm.
And, you know, that was out of, oh my God, here comes Trump. Look what these folks are doing. You know, some of the state legislators were doing some crazy things.
Mhm.
And if we look at it, we have that same type of thing coming out of the Texas legislature right now, right?
Correct.
They're going to be pushing SB 7, which is all of these crazy voting rights, and you know, we could go through all those, but those points in SB 7, we need to get across to the, you know, in the way that you're talking about, that how does this come down to dollars and cents within Texas? You're exactly right. We need to have some memes and some very easy to understand and very easy digestible points of information that we use from this, you know, this communication department that I've been talking about, that can share this and share to our connections all across, you know, North Texas, and we can get input into that. The other things, you know, the transgender bills and the, you know, I mean, permitless carry. I mean, how is that going to affect things, and how is that going to affect from dollars and cents? You know, people, if how is that going to affect if businesses either have to say, no, I don't want any guns, and is there going to be blowback on them for saying that and saying, you know, don't bring a gun in here, or, you know, they're going to have people coming in with guns, and there's going to be a whole other set of people that say, I'm not going in there unless you have that sign. Those are things that I don't think that the Republicans have thought through, and we need to think through on how to use that to our advantage and say these laws that they're putting in place are
going to cost us
absolutely
as much in that
yeah
way.
yeah they're
Exactly.
absolutely not you know, in the same direction, and they're not conducive to good business within Texas. So I am right there with you.
Okay, that was number one. The second point I wanted to mention with the young people, it's so interesting with the young people because I'm looking at who's here now, and we're mostly the more mature set, so putting it mildly. But the deal is with the younger people, I'm convinced, since I still have kids in the 20s and 30s, that they'll listen to their social media and their iPhones before they'll listen to people sometimes. And obviously that's a huge amount we need to grasp. So I think one of the efficacy, and you've got to give him credit, Trump and many of the others, was, boy, they use that Instagram and Twitter like nobody's ever seen. When we get these young people, like Susan mentioned from UT&D and stuff, if we can guide them without being too far left and therefore alienating people, of course that's going to be right when I'm trying to talk to you, to the left, using that social media ramp, but yet monitoring these younger people, so that I think it'll be equally effective and a bigger bang for the buck than, you know, walking the neighborhoods and stuff like that. Not that I'm not saying both aren't good, but it's definitely a two-prong factor to work on too, in my opinion, from marketing.
Absolutely. It's definitely a layered approach, right?
Right.
We're going to get a certain amount of people with this, a certain amount of people with this, and then there's going to be some, you know, overlap like I talked about. But yeah, part of that fellowship program I would love to have in place is specifically around, hey, you guys go, you know, this is what we're going to be pushing from a messaging perspective this week, right? It's this information about how the crazy Republicans are affecting our economy in these three situations. We've got these 4 memes. We want them to go across on social media. And hey, these two can go specifically on Instagram and TikTok, because they're more geared toward, you know, the younger crowd. And
Right.
I don't know anybody who you know does TikTok regularly except for the young folks. So that's why we need them in there, and I'd let them go on TikTok. Here you go, make
Yeah,
us popular.
Yeah, and a third point, and then I'll be quiet. On the group council, now that I'm thinking about it, for Dallas County, we have quite a few junior colleges and we have universities. I'm not sure if we have strong enough candidates to put them on that group council you're referring to also. One representative from the universities.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. So you're thinking
In other
that
words, you
the,
wanted to take one person from all the clubs and stuff for this council that you're talking about. I think we should also consider, and maybe it's the Democratic students at UTD or something, but I think we need to be sure to also get the universities involved. Representatives from the universities, that's all I was going to say. Thank you,
That
and
makes
thank you for doing this work. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the questions. There's no more in chat unless somebody else has something.
Okay, Kristy, I mean, you know, I wanted to follow up on Robin's comment about people who are activists in precincts but not precinct chairs. I mean, there are precincts that have precinct chairs like mine, but they are huge and they have, I mean, a lot of people who are active in them. And I think what Robin's saying is that sometimes the information doesn't, I mean, she's very active, I know her. She really is working on a lot of things, but sometimes she feels like she's not getting the information. And Roundup is fine for sort of future events, but it doesn't always give you up to the minute stuff. Do you think there's a way people could sign up to get more instantaneous information? I mean, you know, not every precinct chair is going to give out information immediately.
I understand. You know, my thought on how we move forward in organizing is yeah, those councils, and then you know, everything is moving more and more toward technology. So my hope is that I can get the funding to revamp our website where we have a portal that, you know, and you know, initially the thought is, you know, for the precinct chairs to have information, see what's coming, you know, and that we would have, you know, organizing meetings that, you know, are totally separate from the CEC and all those type of meetings. My hope would be is that as we break the county down, you know, whether it's through house districts or regions or whatever makes sense, and then those regions down into smaller precinct chair teams or precinct teams where there's 5, 6, 10 precincts in a group that are working together, that those groups of people are not going to just be the precinct chairs, but we want them to be anybody who is active and wanting to get out the vote. So starting that process, and then you know, the meeting structure and the portal would be the communication tools for the overall big path that we're setting forward for the precinct chairs and precinct organizers to take. And what I see is that, you know, every, you know, different points in the year, I see us, you know, depending on whether it's election cycle or midterm or whatever, there would be, okay, you know, from the party and the staff, there would be, hey, for the next 4 months, this is our goal. Here are the tools that you need. Here's the, you know, things where you call for help. That information is going to be put on the portal, and it's going to be filtered down from the region leaders to the precinct team leaders and those group of people who are actually doing the work. And so my hope is to create that structure where that information flows more readily and there's more solid information that's given with the tools and everything from a really good planning perspective. Now, again, that's not to say that this is the directive and this is what everybody has to do, but this is going to be like the project or the program that the party is going to be supporting in full force And we would love everybody to join in, but we know there's other things going on as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that, but I have to say, I rely more on the candidates that I worked for information than I do for the party, which I think is unfortunate, you know?
It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And I hope that, I don't want information to not be coming from the candidates, but I want it to be more unified and more collaborative. So I am going to be working toward that and making sure that, you know, the candidates, they have ground games, they have, you know, their campaigns throughout the cycle. We as a party need to be doing that on an ongoing basis and making it so that the candidates, their ground game and their campaigns are working on expanding the base in terms of this persuasion voters, where we as the party, the precinct chairs, the clubs, are the ones that have a good handle on the base. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one other thing I would say, that the last 2 cycles, my husband and I have signed up to be deputy voter registrars, and I haven't gotten any opportunities from the county. You know, I mean,
Okay.
I'll sign up again. I haven't yet, but I will. But,
Please
you know,
do.
it's like, I'm sure there are opportunities out there that just, or they come at the very last minute, like Friday at 5 o'clock for Saturday morning, you know, and I just hope we can do better, because I know a number of deputy voter registrars who have been very frustrated that they sign up and they're not getting opportunities to help.
Sure, I understand that, and I hear that, and we will definitely work on that.
And finally, tell us how we can help you. What is it you want from all of us Democrats out there?
Well, what I want, number one, is what many candidates want, but at this moment, we need sustaining members, and we're going to be pushing that. At this point, we are, my goal is to have the sustaining members maintain the operational costs of the party. And we are at a place where we don't have that many months in the coffers right now. And if we're going to expand and do the programs that I hear everyone wanting to do, we're going to have to pay for it, right? We're going to have to hire and expand the staff, and we're going to have to, you know, create that funding stream to allow us to have the 365-day-a-year programs, to be able to create the website, to be able to create the infrastructure, to have those meetings, to have that plan laid out in a professional manner. So it doesn't matter if it's $5 a month, if it's $10, if it's $100 a month. We need to get as many people donating to the party on a monthly basis as we possibly can. We have seen through the presidential campaigns that we can get a lot done with a lot of small donations. And that's the grassroots type of, we're all in this together, you know, thought process that we need to do. So that's number one. And then number two is, you know, we're still organizing and figuring out what exactly is going on down at the office and getting the basic structures and foundation in place. But very soon, we're going to be, my goal is to be posting volunteer opportunities, just like we'd post staffing positions, right? We need somebody to do this. And there's going to be ones that are going to be, hey, for 2 hours here to 2 hours there, whatever. And then there's going to be ones that are going to need a committed volunteer to do something on an ongoing basis. And so those are the things that we need people to jump in and do. Obviously, we're not going to be able to pay for all the staff that we need and all the personnel that we need to do all of these programs. So there's going to have to be some dedicated volunteers who take on appointed positions that are going to have an ongoing responsibility. So as those pop up, please, you know, jump in, ask questions about those. If you're interested in doing that, you know, now, you know, let me know. I'll get you on a list. And as soon as those start becoming available and we have that organized, then we'll make those phone calls. So those are the two big things right now.
Great. Are there any other questions, Sharon?
No, there are no more questions. Oh, Carolyn has her hand up.
What is your target budget on a monthly basis for sustaining members?
For the entire for the operational budget
Right.
right now. So right now, our operational budget monthly is about $25,000. That's a little over what we're spending right now. But what we really need to be at is more like 45,000 a month if we're going to be able to run the programs that we need. And you might say, oh my God, how do we do that? $5 at a time, $10 at a time, $20 at a time.
Well, I know that when I was on the SDEC, they really encourage like just $10 a month
Sure.
can be wonderful. You know, if everybody gives $10 a month, which is like 2 coffees, you know, it can really do a lot.
It could change the way we work as Democrats in Dallas County, which would change how we work in Texas. Yeah.
I just
And if you think
posted
about it,
another question.
go ahead. Okay. And I got to go pretty quick. So
That's fine.
Okay, quick. And then Judge Hoffman has a question too. Lena's asking if clubs will have direct access to van.
yeah, if you go through that application process and the coordination process that we're creating, yes, you'll be affiliated and you'll have a certain level of access to van, and you'll be able to have a certain number of accounts so that we're all working off the same van. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Judge Hoffman.
Just
Okay,
briefly,
well,
I just
go
wanted
ahead.
to, oh, sorry. I was just going to make a quick comment. I've been involved in Democratic politics for 30 years, and I've been an elected official for almost 20 years. And I just want to commend Kristy on her campaign and also her effort. She's really made an effort to outreach to elected officials and communicate with us in a way that I think is really positive. And I encourage her to keep up the good work. And we're looking forward to, I'll speak on behalf of myself and I'm sure other elected officials that we look forward to working with her to make sure that we keep Dallas County and hopefully turn Texas blue.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judge Hoffman. I so look forward to working with you. I've worked with you before, and you're top notch in my book.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kristy. I know that we've taken an hour, you know, a lot of your time, and I'm sure we could keep asking you questions forever, but congratulations on becoming chair of the Dallas County Democratic Party, and we look forward to the great things you're going to do for Democrats in Dallas County. And do not hesitate to call on our club whenever you need something.
And I just
Absolutely.
want to
Thank you guys
know
so
that
much. Oh,
this meeting has been recorded. It will be posted on the NDTDW YouTube account tomorrow.
all right, that's great. And yeah, please advertise the July 1st event. Just come down, have a hamburger, and let's just hang out and talk to Democrats in person.
Well, I may not be back from Nebraska, but we've already advertised it with our members, and we're looking forward to supporting you.
All right. Thanks so much. You guys have a good night.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Good night.